morning. Good morning. I never did a live stream from here because I always wanted a higher view of Jerusalem. But today we have a technical limitation by not having data yet. It's proving to be a technical challenge to use an eSIM card here, so I'm going to have to stay here because once I go outside there, I just tested the Wi-Fi, it will become disturbed and it will not be possible to, it will definitely break. I'm happy that it's holding up here, but at least we see the sunrise in Jerusalem. We're here at Notre Dame, this beautiful building built 140 years ago approximately, or begun. It took quite a while to build, about 20 years to complete. It's one of the first major buildings outside the old city of Jerusalem. The walls are right there where you see the bus going by. Behind those, that train is the city wall. Just behind that is the Franciscan convent, the custody of the Holy Land. 800 years presence in Jerusalem since 7 years ago. 807 years present. And here we are in Notre Dame. Some of you might have had dinner up at the rooftop restaurant. And you have the Jerusalem limestone with the sun shining on it. And this is a newer building, so maybe about 25 years old. And it's a big auditorium complex and rooms for a conference. And then down there is a school. And so this is a little bit of Notre Dame for you. I'd love to go out and show you the towers, but you have seen them before from above. And then the lights aren't turned on here in the reception yet. There's always night service, but at the moment in the situation, there isn't. So here we have this interior, which we will then see again in better light. So let's just do a few minutes with the readings from today, and we're moved on now. We have the readings from the book of Proverbs, and now we're moved on to the book of Ecclesiastes, or Kohelet, who is the teacher speaking. And again, it's pure wisdom. And actually, it's an interesting little stroke of providence for me, because this reading is indicated for the Thursday of the 25th week in ordinary time. And how often does that fall on the 26th of September? And on the 26th of September, I made my first vows. The morning after my sister made her consecration to God, which we celebrated yesterday. If any of you were looking at the Mass inside the Holy Sepulchre, which is posted on YouTube and Facebook on the Magdala platforms, then you can see that, well, it wasn't at the end of that, at the Mass, there's a little piece. I haven't seen it myself, what was produced and what was put up. There's my sister saying a few words about her life, and it's been a very blessed life, thanks be to God. And she is here now working for the last 6 years. So then I never forget my anniversary this way, because she has her anniversary the day before, and girls are very good about anniversaries. They remember their anniversaries. So 48 years ago, I made my first vows, and it's a little bit connected to this passage in a way. Yes, I don't want to make it too important, but on the first Sunday of August 1974, I was spending a day with one of the legionaries looking for a place in Connemara. He asked me to help him through the area to find a place for the candidates who were going to join the seminary, the novitiate that year, to have a week's vacation. And not a week's vacation, a week of, yeah, it would be like vacation, but I guess that's the impression it made on us, but it was actually a week of spiritual introduction to the consecrated life. And that's what we had there. And we went to Mass at the cathedral in Galway on that Sunday morning, and the first reading was this particular reading: "Vanity of vanities, all things are vanity. What profit does a man have from all the labor when he toils at under the sun, which he toils at under the sun? One generation passes and another comes, but the world forever stays." Well, maybe modern physics has another idea on the world forever staying, but for our general observation purposes, the world is the same. And probably we would say the same with what happens with all the ups and downs of human history, lots of repeats of mistakes we do in our own lives, and it's a wise man who learns from the mistakes. How's the saying going? It's a wise man who learns from his own mistakes. Anybody can learn from the mistakes of others, but it seems humanity keeps making big blunders. Well, anyway, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. So it's a good time to think about the amount of personal attention and focus we put into and concern we put into certain little things that really are not so important. It's vain. It's not so important. We could actually do without it. We could be detached from it, but we are so concerned and so proud of it and so interested and so invested in it. We put so much effort into it. We put so much into vanities. And sometimes a lot of money, a lot of work. And it's just vain. What does vain mean? It's empty, it's futile. We did it in vain. And the world lives a lot on vanities. It's amazing. A lot of celebrity life, the way it's brought before the world in magazines and TV shows and radio interviews. A lot of vanity. Talking about very little. And there are wonderful horizons for the human heart and the human soul, the human spirit. And they're worth pursuing. When I came first here to the Holy Land, to Jerusalem 18 years ago, almost, in January it will be 18 years, the gardeners here were planting these roses. They were very small and they were separated from each other quite a lot. And now the branches of these roses are so strong. You can understand how there's rosewood. They're probably well over an inch thick and have been pruned time and time again in those 18 years. And they still produce an amazing flourishing of roses basically year round. I think that beautiful feature of life here. Think of the people who planted the trees and the way they grow. And we could be vain about the trees as well, but on the other hand, the trees are an amazing good. They bring an amazing witness of life, a shade, a place for birds to be and sing. They're of beauty. So a lot of the things that have a purpose, a lot of the things of let's say, just vanity have purpose, but their vanity is when they're counted on for a fruitfulness or a result or a source of happiness that would be much bigger, because our heart seeks much bigger happinesses. When we go to the courts of the kings, the palaces, and that's where we are in the gospel reading today, with Herod Antipas, Herod the Tetrarch, and obviously lots of vanities in court life, the courtesans, the mannerisms, the attitudes, the envies, the jealousies, about a lot of vain things, who sat where, who wore what, how does this person look today. Much more important would be, what's this person's attitude to a difficult situation, helping a child in need, looking after a parent, building solid relationships, living with a lot of frivolities. And interestingly, the depths of his heart, he is curious for more. Curious comes from the word why. Latin for why is cur. So people who ask the question why are curious. And he is curious and he wants to see Jesus. A lot of people wanted to see Jesus. Zacchaeus did. And he went to the effort to get up on that tree. And some others did, and they called out, "Lord, let me see. Heal my blindness." But when we indulge in vanities, our sight becomes confused, a little bit like the dust on these windows here that blur the clear vision of reality. And when our heart seeks vanities, this means that our attention is turned away from the great things of great weight, great substance, of great value in our lives. It's nice to hear the birds. Especially nice to hear the birds in urban environments and cities, and that people take care to have spaces where birds can flourish. It brings a wonderful little spark to life, the way they fly. They transcend the gravity, so to say, of the earth. They get up above the earth. And they're looking for more, and they go so fast. And yet, if we were just to go a little bit faster, just go a little bit higher, it could also be a vanity. Vanity is always vanity. I told you before, maybe about a month or 2 months ago, about an experience I had watching a testimony of about 8 minutes of a very public figure, of how he became a believer in God. He was atheist. And he had a big struggle inside himself. He was kind of pushing God to prove himself. And he discovered that compliance precedes belief in God. So he needed to live like God would want him to live, if the God that he was learning about is true, a God of forgiveness, a God of creation, a God of being the ultimate authority in our lives. And he started living like that, as if God were there. And his compliance opened his heart to believe. When we stuff our lives with vanities, we hinder our sight. And he had that amazing experience of saying, okay, I will accept God's law. I will basically follow the commandments. Do not lie, do not cheat, do not steal. I will live a life that's ordered. I will comply with the gift of revelation, and maybe then my heart will see. Imagine we can see with the heart. We can reason with the heart. This is interesting. So Herod has all these speculations about Jesus stuff he's hearing, but he wants to see him. And you know, he doesn't get to see Jesus until here in Jerusalem, not very far from here. And Jesus is already on the path to crucifixion. And Herod is giving in to the pressures of the day because his interest is much lighter than truth, than goodness. He's just trying to get by, to stand socially with the Romans, with the populace. He doesn't want to create waves that could topple his boat. The transformation of life that would be needed to be able actually to see Jesus. A life totally given for others. A pure gift. The psalm today is very valid for everybody here and everybody in every zone of the world where there are difficulties. In every age, O Lord, you have been our refuge. And it's calling out to God, you turn man back to dust. Dust you are, and unto dust you shall return. Maybe that's where the line comes from for Ash Wednesday. And all the vanities become dust. You turn man back to dust, saying, return, O children, for 1,000 years in your sight are as yesterday, now that it is past as a watch in the night. We get so concerned about one activity and one day or one evening, some special event, and it's over in a short time. It has its moment, it has its purpose, but don't give it too much weight. Teach us to number our days aright, that we may gain wisdom of heart. People will leave it like that today. It's great having you here at Notre Dame in this limited context for movement due to the Wi-Fi connection. But looking forward to catching up again tomorrow, God willing, if the Lord gives us breath. May your day be filled with real wonderful substance in your family, at work, with your workmates, in relationships of self-giving, of love, of helpfulness. Let's go inside just to finish off here and see what we can see here. The receptionist has arrived. That's a little interesting moment here. It's Pope Francis. This is the Vatican guest house, so his picture here is the pride of place. Extraordinary in his late 80s and the long trip he did in Southeast Asia, now off to Belgium and Luxembourg with so many challenges, so different challenges in Europe, kind of connecting the extremes of the earth, leadership of the European community, and the poverty and difficulties and challenges of all the people in Southeast Asia. Well, God bless you people. See you later, alligators.